Coming out of this weekend's action, the Final Four in the NBA playoffs is set. The Western Conference Finals will feature the Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, which we will get to here in a little bit. But how they got there, a Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets. And it did not, I don't think, go the way everybody expected it. We got news the day before the game that Aaron Gordon had suffered a grade 2 hamstring strain from Shamsharania, and I saw that and I went, "You have got to be kidding me!" Like that's unreal that they picked up that injury at that point.
Out several weeks was the report the morning of the game.
Yeah.
And so, because I was flying back from San Diego, and I just do a quick scroll and look at all the things
before you hop on the plane. Yeah.
And I go, man, Aaron Gordon out for the game is a big deal because, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but the depth that the Denver Nuggets have is their biggest weekness. And Aaron Gordon does not get enough credit for how clutch he has been on both ends of the floor.
2 game winners in this playoffs alone, and a shot that forced overtime that they ended up winning.
And we don't talk about it enough about how good he is and on both ends, because especially on the defensive end, rebounding, everything.
How important he is to the Nuggets, but specifically.
Part of that is because of his athleticism.
Yeah.
And so for him to finish the game hobbling was one thing, and then for him to go out with that, and there was a play, third quarter, and I think Lou Dort was on him, and he just pulls out the chair, and he falls down, and the ball just bounces back to the other way. That's about the time I checked out of the game. Realizing that there's no better option than 75% of Aaron Gordon or 65% of Aaron Gordon, and dwindling as the game goes on.
Still pretty good, and that was the thing is like
he was, but I don't know that he was pretty good. He wasn't bad.
No.
He wasn't. He just couldn't do so many
do Aaron Gordon
of the hustle plays that, again, don't really show up. Yeah, statistically fine, but just the way that he impacts the game. And the funny thing about this roster, it's not all that different from the team that won the championships. The only thing that's really missing is that depth, that Bruce Brown and KCP.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and in that moment where you can really see the health. But you have a full Aaron Gordon, they win that game. They do what you saw Minnesota do last year, which is run out of gas in the Western Conference Finals. It's just a matter of when they were going to do it, and that injury ends up being dramatic. But in my head, I'm just going, you got to have a better option than what we're seeing here.
And that's part of the problem.
Russell Westbrook taking corner threes is always me going, that's your best shot.
Yeah, that's a win for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, for Aaron Gordon to play in this game is insane.
Oh, he's that's a tough dude. There's no question.
Look, I mean, I got a lot of friends that cover the Nuggets. I got a lot of friends in the media and that work for the Nuggets over the years, and guys were telling Gordon not to play. Oh, yeah. Jokic publicly said, "I told him not to play."
Yeah.
Like, it's a grade 2 hamstring. If that thing tears, he's out at least 6 months, probably 8 months.
Yep.
And you don't know what he kind of is as he gets a little bit older, and after a devastating injury like that, for him to go out there and play was incredible in and of itself. For the Nuggets to start the game the way they did, a 21-10 lead, and you could just feel like it was Jared Allen. The lights were a little bit brighter than I expected. The Thunder looked scared, and then the Thunder found their groove. And
but they also were, I mean, watching the way that they found their groove was just fast breaks and off of turnovers.
37-7 points off turnovers.
Yeah.
The Nuggets, I mean, they're beat up. Like, it's not just Aaron Gordon playing. If you didn't see the game, Aaron Gordon had a leg sleeve on that was like the thickest sleeve I've ever seen in my life.
It was like toe to ribs.
Yeah,
it looked like he was just taped up on the entire left side of his body.
He was dragging that thing behind him, and yet he was leading them in rebounding. He finished the night. His box score, 8 points, 11 rebounds in 25 minutes, 2 of 4 turnovers. The turnovers, he was not the only one. I mean, Christian Brown had 2, Murray had 2, Jokic had 5, Russell Westbrook had 4. I mean, they were just piling them up, and the Thunder were turning them into immediate points. But what was really interesting in the game is Gordon is limited. Obviously, Michael Porter Jr. is playing with one arm. Nobody else really showed up for the Nuggets, and that's, again, plays into the depth part of this. But the Thunder, and putting Alex Caruso on Jokic, and this is something we can talk about a little bit later, and how you're allowed to physically beat the living hell out of bigs in the NBA. It's why I'm always like, let strong guys be strong.
Yeah.
And people get mad, oh, Giannis just runs over people. I'm like, yeah, Do you know what that takes? Like, if it's such an easy thing to do, why isn't every big guy in the NBA just running over people? It's like, well,
Yep.
no, because he takes a physical punishment all game long, and
Yeah.
yet he's still doing it night in, night out, over and over. Same thing with Jokic. You look at his arms at the end of the night. Like,
Just the scratches
Bro, you
and
look
the
at-
red blotches.
Oh,
yeah, you're not wrong.
You look.
I mean, he's a blotchy dude anyways.
Yeah, but
so-
I mean, I get in that locker room for the Blazers during the season. You look at Da and you look at Donovan. You look at the guys that drive. They're just cut up, beat up.
Yep.
Their feet are mangled. Their legs are beat up, and you're just like, yeah. But I mean, Caruso was so physical because they could sag in so much and overhelp and be creative with what they were doing defensively. They were able to disrupt them and get out and transition and pummel them. The question now is, have you seen enough from the Thunder to believe that they've earned their scars?
I mean, it's hard to say. You didn't get anything out of the Grizzlies series, right? There was really nothing to take from that, especially when Ja goes out. I mean, they had the lead in Game 3, but that
and you're
dissolves
tested
very
here
quickly.
with 7 games, but were you tested to the point of like, yes, you were technically pushed to the brink because you go to Game 7.
Sure.
But you were facing, over the last couple games, kind of a shell of the Nuggets. In reality, when the Nuggets had that 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter of Game 5, this series should have been over.
What it really felt like to me, though, as well, and when Caruso is on Jokic, first of all, he's picking him up at the three-point line, and Jokic is allowing him to do that. So there's a couple times where he just drop step and would go to the basket, and then there's all that help, and he's still in heavy traffic. But what he never did was post up on the block.
Yeah.
It's
Difficult to do.
Very
Because they're going to front him and then overload because
Exactly
Russ
right.
is in the weak side or strong side.
But the other thing too is they didn't have a set that they could call that would allow them to get it. So they literally have 4 out and 1 in because so much of the season Jokic is playing with the ball in his hand on the perimeter, and the way that they move the ball around, you have 4 guys in their spots on the 3-point line. When he drops down, there's no angle for any of those passes. There's a couple times that they got it in there, but there's no game plan for it.
They were willing to live with anybody else beating them.
Well, absolutely, but as that lead grew, then they had to start just launching threes, and they weren't going to win by getting 2 points at a time. So then they have to abandon that. But didn't it feel very much at some point during maybe midway through the second or the third period, there was no head coach there? And I don't know if Adelman is, the guy moving forward, but this is a team that fired their head coach.
I'm pretty certain they're going to keep him long term.
It didn't feel, and again, maybe not even his fault because he hasn't had a runway for it, but there was no plan B. It was Jokic wins us this game, and then that started to fail, and then they're like, well, we better make some shots. They didn't make those, and they're like, cool, see ya, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that second quarter, the Thunder kind of figured it out towards the end of the first quarter. In the second quarter, they go 39-20. And that was pretty much it at that point in time. And a big part of that is you've got Aaron Gordon, who's a shell of himself. You've got Michael Porter Jr. playing with one arm. You can't rely on Russell Westbrook. You can't put that much burden on Christian Brown. Jamal Murray had he wasn't playoff Murray in the sense of like 50-point guy. And that was the thing. You needed to have Jamal and Jokic in some combination of the 3 other guys.
Yeah.
Really bringing something, and I think it was just too big of an ask when you're talking about how shorthanded they are physically.
How many open threes did they miss?
I mean, they shot 10 of 45, didn't they?
Well, yeah, but I wonder how many of those were open because they were getting those shots. There was nowhere for Jamal Murray to drive. There was nowhere for Jokic to set up inside, and they just didn't. They didn't have an answer for it. So I don't know what. I mean, sometimes you'll
Murray and Brown are with 3 of 17 from 3.
Yeah,
I mean, you hit some threes, and then you stop. Maybe you're able to get some of that, and you stop them from getting out in transition, and maybe the game's a little bit tighter. But I mean, you really have to give it like OKC. They saw a wounded animal and said, okay, here's what we have, and here's how we're going to take care of things. And we talk about teams earning their scars. You can talk about the path that teams take and how they get there and who's hurt and who's not, but that's a big part of this. And as we kind of push forward here, we talk about the 4 teams now in the conference finals: the Timberwolves and the Nuggets and the Knicks and Pacers. The NBA is about to have their 7th champion in 7 years.
Yep.
Is the parity era